Okay, so earlier this year, we started rebuilding the website. And as part of that, I had this idea that we could kind of embed dynamic content throughout the whole site to give it that kind of really personalized feel. Things like, if you're in the US, maybe you'll use dollars instead of pounds. Maybe we'll change the content based on industry and personalize it and so on. But as part of this, I know that we needed to have data to drive all of that dynamic content. So this is where the idea of progressive profiling really came in, alongside grading as well, of course, which I'll show off in this demo. But what this really did was it kind of got me thinking about having an example, a very self-aware blog on the website where we could kind of demonstrate this in a really kind of microscope, zoomed in, sped up version. Because we know that in real life, progressive profiling, it takes months and years, not minutes, like it does in this blog. So take this blog with a pinch of salt, take ideas from it. Hopefully it's an inspirational piece of art. I've put a lot of time into this, by the way, so I'm very emotionally attached to this blog. And yeah, again, hands up. This is terrible for SEO. Can't reiterate that enough. This is not going to rank on Google, but it will impress, hopefully, you guys. So let's jump straight into it then. So this is the blog I'm talking about, and we called it an epic example of Pardot dynamic content for blogs. So it's the blog to end all blogs. So what powers this blog is a Pardot form. Now, you're going to see this multiple times throughout the demo, and you're going to see it change throughout the demo as well. So let's kick things off. Let's start by filling in the form. So Pug is Pardot user group, by the way. Should really have copied and pasted that in. But very quickly, I'm just going to show off the resubscribe template because I think that's pretty cool. That's the one where you can automatically get people to opt themselves back in. So that's always nice to have on any of your forms. So that will show up if you've opted out, which I hope none of you have. So I filled in my email, I filled in my name, and now I'm going to fill in the job title and choose my blog. So I'm going to choose the campaign attribution blog, and I'm going to opt into communications because our emails are pretty good. But before I fill this in, I just want to draw your attention to two things. So the first thing is this screenshot here. So this is behind the scenes. This is what the blog actually looks like in WordPress. And the key thing to note here is that everything that you're looking at lives within this code block. So everything from the form downwards, so from here downwards, everything you're about to see lives inside this code block here because it's powered by dynamic content. What you're seeing here is the default content. So it always falls back to this, which is, I really like that. That's the first thing I want to draw your attention to. The second is this form down here in the footer. So we call it the quick contact form. And I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look very quick. And you're right. It's not very quick. Remember this form in a minute. So it's all gonna piece together. So let's fill in the form then. So filled in my job title and so on. Let's update the blog. Now, what this form's doing is really simple. It's just refreshing the page. To show off this example, that's all it's doing. Refresh the page, and as you can see, the questions have now changed. The progressive profiling has now kicked in. We now know who I am. I'm Tom Ryan, hence why it's saying not Tom Ryan. It's changed the questions because we're not going to keep the fields there if we already know the information. So that's one thing. But now it's dynamically changed the blog. The page seems awfully familiar, but awfully different at the same time. So I'll read the blog, great blog, short and sweet. But now I want to draw your attention to the bottom, which is the footer. So it used to say quick contact form, quick contact. But now it says, tell us what you need help with, Tom. I've I've tricked you all. It was actually dynamic content all along. So now it's gone from being a quick contact form to tell us what you need help with, Tom. So I've hidden some dynamic content in the footer of the website. And as you can see as well, the opt-in checkbox is gone, the first name's gone, the last name's gone. And now it's asking less. All of a sudden, the quick contact form is now even quicker, which is exactly what we want. Now, before I fill in this form again, I just want to show you how this looks on the prospect record. So if we jump into Pardot, I just want to show you behind the scenes of how this actually looks. So remember, we're focusing on progressive profiling here, and a big part of progressive profiling is that grading element. So if I scroll down here, I can see that I'm a grade C. Now, I'm going to show you something else. Why am I a grade C? Well, the reason for that is because the actual form itself, I don't want to spoil the surprise, so don't look here. The form itself does two things really, two main things. First thing is, as mentioned, it refreshes the page just so we can get that dynamic content kicking in. Takes the information from the fields, which is brilliant, but then also it sets the profile. So I'm making the assumption that if you're reading this blog, you're probably going to be a Pardot user. So what I've done is I've set the profile as Pardot user. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build out that profile, progressive profiling. So here's the profile. Here's the progressive nature of the form. Together, I'm going to progressively profile. So great, I'm a grade C. So if I go back to the blog, let's just assume that I'm super engaged. I'm loving the content in this blog. And I fill in the company name. So MarCloud, okay, what Pardot edition do we use? Well, we use Plus, nice and innocent. Don't know why you're asking me that. And I'm going to choose my blog. And this time I'm going to view the MarCloud methodology blog. So I update the blog. It refreshes the page. And all of a sudden, I'm now viewing the same page, but with a different look and feel. This one's got the MarCloud methodology page, blog content on there. So let's just say I read the blog, I have a great time, I learn some bits, I move on. But I scroll to the bottom of the page, and now the quick contact form is even quicker. The company name is gone from this form here. So now you can start to see how the progressive profiling on a download or a blog form is now impacting some of the other forms on the site, i.e. the contact form. So it's a super nice connected feel to all of this, and this is all on the website. So let's go back. Let's go back here for a second. And again, before we complete the form again, let's go back to the prospect record. Let's give this a refresh. You can see that I've gone from a grade C to a grade B minus, which is great. This is progressive profiling in action. I'm learning more about you to then give a better quality score. And the more information I have, the better my judgment is on how likely it is that you'll want our services. So again, let's look at the marketing team size. Now, for this one, I've used just me as a label. The actual value for this is number 1, and that's going to become important in just a second. So the marketing team size is just me, little old me on my own, and I'm going to choose my blog. But this time I'm going to choose the progressive profiling blog. Now, this is where things start to spring into action and make a little bit more sense. So let's update the blog. The page refreshes. Now, the cool thing about this, again, I'm asking a new question on the form. This is a really, really exaggerated version of progressive profiling. Here's the progressive profiling blog. Again, this is a very self-aware piece of, I want to say art. It took me a lot of time to do this. So this screen here details exactly what we've done in terms of conditional formatting and so on. Progressive profiling. And what happens here, so what I've done is I've added variable tags into the blog, into the dynamic content on the blog which now shows my values, because in the beginning, you remember I put marketing operations as a job title. Our Pardot edition is plus. The marketing team size is just me, but that was just a label. I've put 1. But your Pardot experience level was blank. Now, I'm hoping some people will see this and go, oh, I want to see it populate. so I've just added this in for an extra bit of fun, but also this ties in with the newsletter. So by me understanding your Pardot experience level, I'm actually putting you into a list where I can then send you content based on your Pardot experience level. So again, this progressive bit of information, I'm learning more about you, and I'm going to put you into a list because you've opted in, and now I can market to you based on your Pardot experience level. Again, pause for a second. I'm just going to jump to the Pardot prospect record. I'm going to refresh this, and now I'm an A-. So now we just need a couple more bits of information. If it's a match, you might go up to A+. So this is exciting. So now, Pardot experience level intermediate. And I'm going to choose progressive profiling again because I want to see this populate. Again, I can't stress to you how simple the form is. The form just refreshes the page every time. Every time. The dynamic content just looks at the value. The form is just refreshing the page, refresh the page, refresh the page. So now the form's shorter. You've come to the end of the line. The progressive profiling said, we know enough. We've got enough to grade you now. And if I scroll down a bit further, you can now see that Pardot experience level populates with intermediate. Amazing. It's all working beautifully. And then for a final time, I'm going to go back to the prospect record. And I'm now a grade A+ because I've learned enough about the individual. This is great. Progressive profiling in action, where I know enough about you in terms of data points. And here we go. Before I jump into announcing the app, which is part of the form, as you might have seen, I'm going to show you how this looks behind the scenes. So I'm going to look at the dynamic content behind the scenes. And you can see, like, all it is, I've embedded the iframe inside the dynamic content, which then goes inside the code block of the website. So you can start to see how much time I have in my evenings to build all of this. Yeah, a little bit of an insight into my life. So yeah, all of the blogs are inside the dynamic content. When you choose the blog, the content changes. All the form is doing is refreshing the page. And there we go. We've got your example. So last but not least, I'm going to now announce the Pardot app before we go into a round of questions. So wanted to choose today to announce the app to make it quite special. This is the last virtual user group. So to treat you all, I wanted to use this as the platform to announce it. So you all are some of the first people in the world to know what the world's first public iOS and Android mobile app is. And without further ado, before I jump into this, so it does exist. This concept exists going into Salesforce already, but that upsets me because that's not a Pardot app. That really isn't a Pardot app. What that does is it would go into Salesforce, create a lead, and it will sync back into to Pardot. And you end up with all of these leads in Salesforce that are potentially cold and who are never going to speak to you again. So I disagree with that approach. So what we've done to address that issue is we have come up with a business card scanner. So that is the first app. Hopefully that wasn't an anticlimax. So let me talk you through it. Business card scanner, you're at an event, you haven't paid for Wi-Fi, you're using your phone's 4 or 5G. You can scan a card, you can speak to them as you're scanning their card in, you can amend their details, you can write notes about what you've just spoken to them about, you can add them to a list, you can add them to a campaign, you can customize any of the information within the app. Now, to go a step further, because I've really pushed the limits of this dynamic content thing, I've put a Wistia video in the dynamic content on the website. So when I open this here, and there's really annoying music on this video, so I do apologize for that. But if you want to watch the video in your own time, feel free. But I will be able to see how much that you've viewed because I have the Wistia connector enabled. And I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, this finalize. I'm going to show you the website as it's a lot more beautiful than this blog. Any questions?